A quiet roadside cafe becomes the backdrop for an encounter no one could have predicted. When a Hollywood superstar finds himself face to face with a group of unruly bikers, the tension in the air is palpable. Mocking words fly, but what's about to happen will shock everyone in the room. What will unfold when ego and courage collide? Watch until the end to witness the unexpected. Leave your thoughts in the comments, smash the like button, and make sure to subscribe to the channel. This is just the beginning. Dwayne. The Rock. Johnson drove his black SUV along a quiet stretch of highway, the evening sun casting golden hues over the rolling hills. He had come here seeking peace and a break from his demanding Hollywood schedule. Spotting a small roadside diner with a glowing neon sign reading Old Timer Cafe, he decided to stop for a quick coffee. As soon as he entered, the hum of conversation in the diner hushed. Heads turned, and the patrons stared in awe as the towering figure of the famous actor walked through the door. With his signature warm smile, Dwayne gave a polite nod to the room and approached the counter. He ordered a black coffee and settled at a table by the window, enjoying the rare moment of quiet solitude. In the corner of the cafe sat a group of leather-clad bikers, their laughter and rowdy banter filling the room. The leader of the group, a burly man with a scruffy beard and a leather jacket emblazoned with the name Jack, leaned back in his chair and smirked as he watched Dwayne. "Look who it is, Hollywood's big man," Jack said, loudly enough for everyone to hear. His friends laughed. "Think you're better than us, huh? With all those fake muscles and your stunt doubles doing the hard work?" Dwayne didn't react. He sipped his coffee, focusing on the scenic view outside the window. Jack, however, wasn't satisfied. "Hey, Rock," he called out mockingly, "why don't you show us some of those fancy moves from your movies? Or are you only tough when there are cameras around?" The other bikers roared with laughter, slapping the table and egging Jack on. Dwayne glanced in their direction, his expression calm but his eyes sharp. He took a deep breath, deciding it wasn't worth engaging. He finished his coffee and rose to leave, dropping a tip on the table and heading for the door. As he reached the exit, a young black girl, no older than 10, approached him hesitantly. She clutched a small notebook and a pen, her wide eyes filled with admiration. "Excuse me, Mr. Johnson," she said softly. "Can I have your autograph, please?" Dwayne's face lit up with a genuine smile. He knelt to her level and gently took the notebook. "Of course, sweetheart. What's your name?" "Lyla," she said shyly. He scribbled a message and signed his name with a flourish, handing the notebook back to her. As she beamed with joy, the bikers noticed the interaction. Jack leaned forward, his eyes narrowing with malice. "Well, isn't that sweet?" he sneered. "Hey, kid, why are you wasting your time with him? You think he cares about you?" The other bikers joined in, their taunts growing louder. Lyla froze, clutching her notebook tightly. "Aw, come on, little girl," one of them jeered. "You think just because he's famous, he's going to help you? He's nothing special, just like you." Dwayne's jaw tightened, but he kept his composure. He placed a reassuring hand on Lila's shoulder, whispering, "It's okay. Just ignore them." But the bikers didn't stop. Jack got up from his seat and strode over, towering over the girl. "Why don't you run along, kid? Guys like him don't care about your kind," he said with a cruel laugh, shoving her lightly. Lyla stumbled, her notebook falling to the ground. The room fell silent, and Dwayne's calm demeanor shifted. His eyes burned with a quiet fury as he helped Lyla to her feet. "You okay?" he asked her softly. She nodded, though tears welled in her eyes. Dwayne straightened and turned to Jack, his voice low and steady. That's enough. Jack smirked, unbothered. Or what, big guy? You gonna flex us to death? Dwayne's expression hardened, and his towering presence seemed to grow even larger. He glanced around the diner, his mind already calculating his next move. Lyla, he said gently, go stand over there, okay? I'll handle this. The girl nodded and moved away, her eyes wide as she clutched her notebook. Jack laughed again, motioning to his friends. Look at him. Thinks he's a hero in real life. Let's see what you've got, Rock. The tension in the room was palpable as Dwayne stood his ground, ready for whatever came next. As the bikers surrounded him, their laughter echoed through the small cafe. Jack led the group, his sneer widening as he cracked his knuckles. So, big guy, you think you're too good for us, huh? Let's see how tough you really are without your cameras and stunt doubles. The other bikers closed in, their leather boots thudding heavily against the floor. Dwayne's gaze remained calm, his broad shoulders relaxed, but his eyes carried an unmistakable intensity. Lyla, standing to the side clutching her notebook, watched with fear. Her small frame trembled as the insults from the bikers continued to pour out. You think a guy like him cares about you? One of them jeered at her again. He's just another fake hero pretending for the cameras. Jack took a step closer to Dwayne, puffing out his chest. What's the matter, Rock? Don't tell me you're scared. Or is it because you know you're nothing more than a big guy with no real power? He reached forward, prodding Dwayne's shoulder with his finger. For a moment, it seemed like Dwayne might walk away. He looked at Lyla, then at the other patrons of the cafe who were frozen in their seats, too scared to intervene. But when Jack turned his attention to the little girl again, leaning in her direction with a menacing smirk, Dwayne's demeanor shifted. Leave her out of this, he said, his deep voice cutting through the tense air like a blade. Jack ignored the warning and moved closer to Lyla, his hand reaching out as if to grab her. That was the breaking point. In an instant, Dwayne stepped between them, his massive frame shielding the girl. He placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder and quietly said, "Stay behind me." The bikers roared with laughter. "Look at this guy," one shouted, "trying to play the hero." Dwayne slowly turned back to face Jack, his movements deliberate and controlled. "You wanted my attention," he said, his voice low and commanding. "Now you've got it." Jack smirked, motioning for his crew to back him up. "All right, boys, let's teach him a lesson." The first biker lunged, but Dwayne sidestepped effortlessly, grabbing the man by the arm and twisting it in a way that sent him crashing onto a nearby table. Another charged from the side, swinging wildly, but Dwayne caught his fist mid-air and countered with a swift strike to the chest, sending the biker stumbling backward into a chair. Jack watched in shock as two of his men were taken down in seconds. "You think you're some kind of superhero?" he spat, charging at Dwayne himself. But Dwayne was ready. With a swift movement, he hoisted Jack off the ground and executed his signature move, the rock bottom, slamming the biker leader onto the hard floor with a resounding thud. The cafe erupted into gasps and murmurs as the remaining bikers hesitated, unsure whether to continue. Dwayne straightened, his presence alone enough to freeze them in their tracks. "Anyone else?" he asked, his voice calm but firm. One by one, the remaining bikers backed away, their confidence shattered. Jack groaned from the floor, barely able to move after the impact. Dwayne looked down at him, his gaze unyielding. Real strength isn't about bullying or intimidating others. You picked the wrong day and the wrong person. He turned back to Lyla, who was staring up at him with wide, awe-filled eyes. "You okay?" he asked her softly, She nodded, clutching her notebook tightly. Dwayne walked her back to her seat and knelt beside her. No one should ever make you feel small or afraid. Remember that, okay? She nodded again, a small smile breaking through her tears. The cafe patrons, who had been watching the scene unfold in stunned silence, began to clap. The tension in the room dissolved as they cheered for the man who had stood up against the bullies. Dwayne didn't wait for accolades. He glanced at the bikers, who were now slinking out of the cafe, their egos bruised and their leader barely able to stand. With one last look to ensure Lyla was safe, he headed for the door. As he stepped outside, a man with a smartphone approached him. "I got the whole thing on video," the man said, holding up his phone. "That was incredible. You're a real-life hero." Dwayne gave a small nod, his expression softening. "I just did what anyone should do," he replied before getting into his SUV. Inside the cafe, the buzz of excitement continued. The bikers' humiliation would be the talk of the town for weeks to come, but more importantly, a little girl had seen that heroes weren't just in movies. They could be real, too. The aftermath of the fight left the cafe buzzing with energy. While the bikers stumbled out, bruised and defeated, patrons exchanged whispers about what they had just witnessed. The little girl, Lyla, sat clutching her notebook, her expression shifting from fear to awe as she watched Dwayne Johnson calmly return to her side. His presence, solid and reassuring, felt like a protective barrier against the world's cruelty. Outside, Jack struggled to stand, clutching his ribs from the force of the rock bottom that had slammed him to the floor. His crew hovered nearby, too shaken to attempt any more provocations. Jack spat on the ground, glaring at Dwayne through the cafe's large window. "This isn't over," he growled under his breath, but even he knew that any retaliation would be futile. Inside, Dwayne crouched down to meet Lila's gaze. "You did great," he said softly, offering her a warm smile. "You're brave, you know that?" She nodded shyly, her fingers gripping the corner of her notebook. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice trembling slightly. "You're my hero." Her words caught the attention of everyone in the room. One by one, the patrons began clapping, their applause growing louder with each passing second. Dwayne, ever humble, raised a hand to quiet them. "I appreciate it, but I'm not the hero here," he said, glancing at Lyla. "This little one is. She stood up in the face of something terrible, and that takes real courage." The room fell into a respectful silence as Dwayne gently placed a reassuring hand on Lila's shoulder. He straightened up and turned to address the crowd. "No one should ever feel like they don't belong. And no one has the right to make someone else feel small. Let's make sure that doesn't happen again, all right?" His words carried weight, and the patrons nodded in agreement, the energy in the room shifting toward unity and respect. Outside, however, things were far from settled. One of the bikers, frustrated and humiliated, pulled out his phone and began ranting about the fight. "This guy thinks he's a big shot. Just wait until everyone sees how fake he is." Another biker snatched the phone already live streaming and pointed it toward the cafe. "Yeah, look at him acting all high and mighty." But their plan backfired. Inside, someone had also recorded the altercation, capturing Dwayne's unshakable composure and the way he stood up for Lyla. That video was already making its way across social media, shared by patrons eager to highlight his bravery and humility. As Dwayne prepared to leave, a man in a baseball cap approached him hesitantly. "Hey, I just wanted to say what you did in there was incredible. A lot of people would have walked away, but you didn't." Dwayne gave him a nod, his demeanor modest. "Sometimes walking away isn't an option," he replied simply, "especially when someone needs you." The man smiled and raised his phone. "Do you mind if I—" Dwayne waved a hand. "Go ahead." The man quickly snapped a photo, and within minutes it was online, accompanying the viral video. The hashtags #RealHero and #TheRock trended almost instantly, with thousands of comments praising Dwayne's actions. The story spread like wildfire, resonating with people around the world who admired his willingness to stand up against injustice. As he drove away, the cafe receded in the rearview mirror, but the impact of his actions lingered. Lyla sat at her table, staring at the autograph in her notebook, her heart swelling with pride and hope. For her, and for everyone who had witnessed it, this was more than just a fight. It was a reminder that real heroes existed, even off the screen. Meanwhile, Jack and his gang tried to regroup at a nearby gas station. Their egos bruised, they argued among themselves about what had gone wrong. "We should have taken him together," one biker muttered. Jack, holding an ice pack to his ribs, glared at him. "Shut up! This isn't over!" But deep down, even Jack knew that they had been utterly outmatched. Their humiliation wasn't just local, it was going global. Comments and memes flooded the internet with people celebrating Dwayne's actions and ridiculing the biker's arrogance. Back in his SUV, Dwayne's phone buzzed with notifications. He glanced at the screen, his social media exploding with praise and support. But he put the phone down, his focus on the road ahead. For him, it wasn't about the attention or the accolades. It was about doing what was right, no matter who was watching. By the time Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson returned to his home later that evening, the video of the incident at the cafe had already gone viral. Clips showing him standing firm against the bikers, shielding the little girl, and delivering his signature "rock bottom" on Jack were everywhere, spreading across social media platforms like wildfire. Hashtags such as #RealLifeHero and #TheRockProtects were trending globally, accompanied by millions of comments praising his actions. The story had struck a chord with people, resonating as a powerful example of standing up against bullying and injustice. In the following days, news outlets picked up the story, turning it into a national sensation. Headlines like "Dwayne Johnson defends young girl against racist bikers" and "The Rock proves he's a hero on and off the screen" dominated the media. Interviews with cafe patrons who had witnessed the event painted Dwayne as a modern-day champion of justice. Clips from the fight were dissected on morning shows, with commentators marveling at his poise and strength. For Lyla, the young girl at the center of it all, her life had changed forever. She became the subject of countless interviews, recounting how Dwayne had stood up for her when no one else did. Her notebook, now containing the autograph of her hero, was proudly shown to cameras. "He didn't just protect me," she said in one interview. "He showed me that I'm important, that I matter, and no one has the right to make me feel less than anyone else." The bikers, on the other hand, faced the harsh reality of their actions. Their humiliation was amplified by the internet's relentless mockery. Memes circulated showing Jack sprawled on the ground with captions like "The rock bottom of racism" and "When Hollywood meets reality." Their attempt to tarnish Dwayne's reputation had not only failed, but backfired spectacularly, turning them into the laughingstock of their own community. Jack tried to avoid the public eye, but his notoriety followed him wherever he went. The other members of his gang quickly disbanded, unwilling to endure the continued embarrassment. Local law enforcement, spurred by the media attention, began investigating the bikers' history of harassment and intimidation, leading to several charges against them for previous incidents. Dwayne, however, remained humble throughout the whirlwind of attention. When reporters asked him for comments, he kept his response simple. "I just did what anyone should do. No one deserves to feel small or scared, especially not a child. If my actions inspire others to stand up for what's right, then I'm grateful for that." He also made a special gesture for Lyla, inviting her and her family to the set of his upcoming movie. The invitation included a private tour, a chance to meet the cast and crew, and a personal conversation with Dwayne himself. When Lyla arrived on set, she was greeted by him with the same warmth and kindness she had experienced at the cafe. He knelt down to her level and handed her a special gift, a framed photo of the two of them from the cafe, accompanied by a handwritten message. "To Lyla, the bravest little hero I've ever met. Keep shining bright." The moment was captured by photographers, further solidifying the story's heartwarming conclusion. Lyla's beaming smile became the symbol of the event, reminding the world that even in the face of adversity, kindness and courage could prevail. The video's reach continued to grow, drawing attention from celebrities, activists, and public figures who praised Dwayne's actions. Charities and organizations dedicated to anti-bullying campaigns reached out to collaborate with him, inspired by the example he had set. The Rock's actions had transcended a single event, sparking conversations about standing up for others and the importance of community solidarity. As the media frenzy gradually subsided, Dwayne returned to his routine, though the impact of his actions lingered. For him, it was never about the fame or recognition. It was about doing what was right in the moment, protecting those who needed it, and sending a message that strength isn't just about physical power, it's about using it responsibly. In the weeks that followed, the cafe became a small tourist attraction, with people stopping by to see the place where the event had unfolded. The cafe owner even hung a framed photo of Dwayne shaking hands with Lyla on the wall under a plaque that read, "Where a Hero Stood." For everyone involved, the story of Dwayne Johnson and the bikers became a lasting memory. It was a tale of bravery, humility, and the power of standing up against injustice, proving once again that heroes don't just exist in movies, they walk among us every day. The confrontation has ended, but the lessons remain. Courage, respect, and the power to stand up for what's right. These are what truly define strength. What would you have done in this situation? Share your thoughts in the comments. Leave a like if this story inspired you, and don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories like this.